I'd like to talk about writing. Writing as in the physical act of printing or writing in cursive, as well as writing as in composition or creative writing. Let's start from the beginning. The beginning of the physical act of writing typically is happening too soon for most children. Ideally, we do not instigate the act of writing teaching children how to print until neurodevelopmentally they're far enough along that we can determine with some degree of accuracy where their dominance is, which should be their dominant controlling hand. Many preschools are teaching kids to color, draw, write prematurely. This isn't real shocking because the educational establishment in general doesn't have much of a clue in terms of what is developmentally appropriate. Matter of fact, I recently had a parent concerned about her Down syndrome child's skills at the age of 3. And her concern was based on, she saw a list of things that you could teach your 3-year-old from a preschool book. And it was a long list of things you could teach your 3-year-old. And what it wasn't was a long list of things your 3-year-old should be doing. What it was not is a long list of things you in fact should teach your 3-year-old. It was simply a list of things you could possibly teach your 3-year-old. And since most of the people in the field really don't understand the developmental process and all the pieces necessary to do things in a developmentally logical way, they're throwing things at the kids generally too prematurely. So to actually begin the physical act of writing, we prefer that the kids neurodevelopmentally be to a point where we strongly can see a dominant controlling hand. If you do it prior to that point, what happens with the dominance is the kids swing to the right side, they swing to the left side, and you choose to start teaching them to learn to write when they've swung to the left side. They start developing that skill set of writing with that left hand, and then that dominance swings back to the right side, but they've developed the skill set on the left, so they keep pursuing the left, and you end up with a child with neurological disorganization because you have done that to them. That happens a lot, right? And we want to avoid that. Number 2, we want to make sure the child has the sequential processing to be able to write. Now, in truth, most kids who are 2 or 3 years old have the motor skills, if we looked at that in isolation, to be able to hold an instrument and draw a circle or draw a line, or if you will, draw a letter. All right. Doesn't mean they should do it. All right. What happens is they don't actually have the processing ability to put all the pieces together. An A to a little kid with low processing is 3 lines. And it's 3 lines that go any which way. And you say, oh, well, that's not an A, this is an A. Well, to the child, it's got the 3 lines, that's an A. All right, so the global maturity, the sequential processing comes into it. And we get the aspect of pencil grasp. Somewhere in the 80s, it was like there was a solid vote around the country, and schools stopped teaching children how to hold a pencil. Interesting phenomena to watch. Prior to that time, schools all taught kids how to hold a pencil. And they taught them, you hold it with 2 fingers and you support it on a 3rd finger. Well, the number of children we see today that actually hold a pencil like that, they're few and far between. You see their thumb wrapping up, you see it doesn't have a base on it. Some kids are using, 3 fingers, 4 fingers, 5 fingers to hold it. And in truth, there's only one proper way to hold it. And if you're holding a pencil properly, you're writing with small muscles. You're writing with your fingers. It's a fine motor function. As soon as you modify that pencil grasp, you can no longer really do that, and you're writing with the hand and the arm. So you're turning a small motor, fine motor function into a gross motor function. All right, which is slow, which which is difficult and really doesn't lead to good writing or functional fast writing. Right? So we need to teach a child to hold the pencil properly. And again, often that can't happen until the child is neurodevelopmentally really ready to do that. Okay? So physically writing is dependent upon having sufficient processing skills, proper organization neurologically and maturity neurologically to do it, and then developing the actual motor skill and proper pencil grasp to do it. Now in terms of the composition end of writing, my ideal is if I'm homeschooling a child, I do not actually start having them do composition until I have their reading level up at 10th grade level or above. So I can have the kids typing at 35, 40 words or faster, until the children have read many, many, many books, and until the children have listened to many, many books on tape. If I have a child who has gone through that process, I can then say to that child, write me a story, write me a report, and they can just do it. Right? Because they have all the knowledge, they have all the foundation to do it, and they haven't been taught that they can't do it, and they haven't been taught to hate to do it. Now, so the system as it exists, we're trying to teach kids to be readers and writers. And so we take little children in first grade, second grade, third grade, all right, and we're trying to get them to compose longhand. You know, we have kids in second, third grade being told to write stories or write reports. You know, the kid's still trying to remember what a K looks like. You know, you think at about 150 or so words a minute. The faster you can approach that speed in your output trying to produce it, the better and easier it is. You know, I remember experience I had with my youngest son when he was at a 4th grade level, and I was out of town, and I was speaking to him on the phone, and while I'm talking to him, I'm hearing typing. And finally, after a while, I stopped and said, Larry, what do you know, who's typing? And his response was, well, I am. I'm writing a story. And he was, in fact, having a conversation with me and writing a story simultaneously, because he could type at about 65 words a minute, and he could therefore get his thoughts out very quickly so he could simultaneously be having a discussion and writing a story. Right? So I typically don't want kids attempting to write, as in compose, right, until they can type well. Right? You know, typing is a much faster way to get that information out. You know, you think about some poor kid trying to write a story, and he's laboriously trying to get every word on the paper, and as he's trying to remember what that K looks like and get that word down, you know, he's realizing that it really doesn't look so good. You know, gee, maybe I should erase that K and write that K again. And okay, then what was the next word I was going to write? You know, let alone what was the sentence I was going to write or the paragraph I was going to write. And gee, maybe the shorter this is, the better. And then after they've gone through incredible time and pain to get this on paper, they look at it and it looks horrible. All right, because they haven't developed good writing skills yet. All right? So how rewarding is that? Then we have another issue, which is the English language, because it has so many exceptions to the rules. Your ability to spell is largely a visual ability. That is, does the word look right? Well, for the word to look right, it preferably is in print. You know, if you picture a word in your mind, you picture the word in print as it would be in a book. You don't see it in your writing. You see it as in book print. So when the child's writing longhand, or, you know, that word isn't going to look like the word he has in his mind, making the spelling a little more difficult. So if the child's typing it, then the spelling becomes more easily identified. Punctuation is more easily identified. We've been doing this for lots of years, and if we can actually do it properly, it's fast, it's easy, and it's not painful, and the kids actually learn to do it well, learn to do it efficiently, and like doing it. And as I tell everyone, educationally, the first thing you do is try to teach a child to love whatever it is you're trying to teach them. If you succeed in that, they're going to be off and running typically. So we need to create these things in such a way that we turn the kids onto it, we do it in a developmentally logical way so that they're successful. Thanks.